Hi, this is Brian Pasch, and this is an excerpt from the DMSC 2017 conference, which is held each year in the Napa Valley. Today, I wanted to briefly share with you my thoughts about how new marketing metrics are giving dealers insights into increasing the ROI of their marketing investments. Specifically, when you start tracking what consumers are doing on your dealership website, many things very quickly come to light which allow you to move your marketing dollars to investments that are going to help you sell more cars. One of the things that you will also realize as you look at engagement data and partner with companies who are providing specialized data sources is that you've been operating with data blind spots, meaning you've been making marketing decisions, staffing decisions based on incomplete data. Let me explain. David Metter for AutoHook mentioned at the DMSC conference that dealers now have the ability to see which customers in their CRM bought a car and which bought a car from one of their local same brand competitors. Why is this important? Because whether your BDC or sales process is closing 10, 12, 15, or 17%, what would you do? What could you change if you knew that 30% more of the leads that were sitting in your CRM bought from the dealer 10 miles down the road? You would definitely change your staffing strategy, your contact strategy, if these people were in your CRM, yet you didn't know that these were active buyers and that you're letting customers walk away. Don Crawford from Conversica showed dealers that even though they have a sales process and a sales workflow in their CRM, a high percentage of their emails are never getting in the inboxes to allow that two-way communication to start. In fact, when consumers first engage with the dealership, they are eager to hear from the dealership, yet through technology, templates, blunders, well, the consumer is still waiting for the dealer to get back to them. We also heard from Jason Knight at LotLinks talking about the blind spots regarding dealer inventory. Most dealers send their inventory up to AutoTrader, Cars.com, Car Gurus, KBB, Edmunds, and all of these sites have value, but they have a feeling that, well, by doing that, all of their cars will get enough views to turn at a regular pace. But with the LotLinks free VVO tool, the VIN View Optimizer, dealers can see that oftentimes 20% of their cars are eating up 70% of their budget. There's a whole section of cars, 30, 40% of their cars, in some cases 60% of their cars, not having enough views to turn at a regular rate. And lastly, Clairvoy is showing dealers that last click attribution is a blind spot that has to be solved. And with a recent announcement from Google, multi-touch attribution will replace marketing decisions that most dealers have been making, which are based on last click attribution. Lastly, we learned that even though dealers think they have a great sales process, when a consumer visits the dealership, if you don't have a managed retail sales process, you're not going to get all those visitors into your CRM. On average, 25% of showroom lot visits are not logged into the CRM. And what an opportunity that is to improve your close rates, improve your sales just by, well, filling this blind spot in your showroom process. When you start tracking engagement data, you'll start to challenge some of the, well, coaching or advice that's been given to dealers because the data doesn't support it. When you inspect engagement Sometimes you'll be disappointed that your own agency is making very poor choices on where to send consumers for your paid advertising campaigns. Once you start inspecting engagement data, you will find out that your website, even though it may be responsive, isn't responsible for your marketing dollars, meaning the pages are loading too slow, and that's impacting conversion. So I want to call bullshit on some of the concerns that dealers have been fed regarding tracking engagement, because it is truly the next evolution of marketing metrics. It's what other industries outside of automotive are doing to improve their online sales results. Dealers need to learn from other industries. What I want to talk to you today is about inspecting engagement and outcomes. I don't want to talk about conversions anymore because we don't know what type of conversion it was. Was it for sales? Was it for service? Was it for parts? Or was it just the Yellow Pages call to see what time your dealership was open? I want to show you what happens when you start using Google Tag Manager to track engagement in analytics. And then I want to quickly apply this knowledge to two common blunders that dealers are making. First of all, Google Tag Manager is a free tool from Google. What it does is allow you as a dealer or through your partner like VistaDash to install some scripts that Google recommends are placed in a Tag Manager container, and that can send click actions, scroll actions, play actions that a consumer takes on your dealership website to Google Analytics. Why is this important? Well, think about it. All of the actions that someone takes on your website show intent. Instead of guessing whether this person was interested in trucks, let's see what they're doing on the website. Did they play the video? Don't guess if somebody was interested in service. Did they read the service article? Did they engage with the service content on your website? The PCG Engagement Project has defined over 100 common actions that consumers take on the website, and we've created standardized names in Google Analytics. Dozens of technology partners are now supporting these event names. Today, if you have a Dealer eProcess website or a Fusion Zone website, they can turn on our standard event names without needing a Google Tag Manager container. It's an amazing accomplishment. In a short period of time, both Dealer Inspire and Dealer On will also be natively supporting consumer engagement tracking based on the definitions that we've made public. Other companies who are not website companies but are part of the conversion funnel, the way that consumers interact with your dealership, are also supporting the open PCG event dictionary names. CarNow, CarChat, and Gubagoo. If you're one of those clients, you can just ask them to start sending engagement data into Google Analytics. Call Review and Callbox, also known as Car Wars, are sending call conversion data into Google Analytics to help measure outcomes properly. Ad tech platforms like Dealer Teamwork, LotLinks are supporting the event names that allow dealers to see how consumers are interacting when paid traffic brings them to your website or specialized landing page. Trade-in tools like Trade Pending, merchandising tools like AutoHook are all falling in place to support the dealers who want to have new metrics to improve their marketing outcomes. Why is this important? Hard conversions are low. For an average AdWords campaign in the United States, 1% of those clicks will fill out a lead form. 2% will call. Maybe 0.5% will text or chat. That's it. So isn't it interesting that this billion-dollar automotive retail industry doesn't know what the other 96.5% are doing? Were they playing videos? Were they going through photos? Did they click on a trade-in button or a finance button? Did they start the process? Did they finish the process? This information is vital to inspect the quality of traffic that's going to your website. If only 3.5% convert, well, it's the tail wagging the dog. You can't have, more scalable increases in sales results from your marketing investments if you're basing everything off of 3.5%, the very, very small percentage who convert. When you start tracking engagement using Google Tag Manager into Google Analytics, things change immediately, and, these changes aren't bad. Bounce rate decreases. It's how Google Analytics and events work. If you're using a Google AdWords campaign and send a consumer to this VDP, a vehicle detail page, if they do nothing on this page and 2 seconds later leave, Google calls it a bounce. If they spend 1 minute on this page and go through all 7 photos and scroll down to read all the features and accessories and leave, Google calls that a bounce. But for dealers watching today's video, you know you would rather have knowledge that the consumer looked at photos, scrolled down the page, maybe interacted with the payment calculator. But without Google Tag Manager, without tracking events, you're completely blind. More importantly, if somebody stays 2 seconds versus somebody that stays 60 seconds, wouldn't you want to know that? Wouldn't you want a more accurate way to know how long people stayed on your website? So here's what happens. When you track photo engagement, if the consumer clicks on photo engagement, the bounce rate goes away because now an event is sent to Google Analytics and this person is no longer a bounce, which I think is beautiful because we never knew if somebody did something on the page or not. The way Google Analytics is set up is when you send an event like a photo gallery view, then that consumer is no longer considered a bounce. They did something on that page. So the great news about tracking consumer engagement is the people that just visited one page. In the past, you had to guess whether they were doing something or not. Now, your bounce rate really reflects people who go to a page and don't even scroll and leave. Now, that's why we created a metric in VistaDash called 0 engagements per page. It's also part of the 6 new marketing metrics that we've defined. But ZEP means that the consumer didn't do anything on that page that warranted any sort of points. They didn't scroll, they didn't click on the e-price button, they didn't look at a photo, they didn't play a video. Dealers, when you start tracking engagement, if your campaigns have a high ZEP or 0 engagements per page, it means that most likely you have bot traffic or poor landing page choices, which is just burning up and eating up your marketing dollars. We, as an industry, need to help dealers with new metrics to give them the insights on the quality of the traffic that they're paying for or earning through their marketing channels. One other thing you need to understand is time on site becomes more accurate. Now, what that means is that for the first time, you'll have better data to look at your marketing channels. Let me explain. If somebody comes to your home page and stays there 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 minutes, and does nothing and leaves, well, the running time in Google Analytics is 0. whether they stayed 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or a minute, because if they don't go to a second page, the way Google Analytics by default is set up for most car dealers, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, or 5 minutes on any one page, Google says the time on site was 0, which is false. And yet that's what is being reported into Google Analytics. Google Analytics compares the time when you load a second page as its way of knowing the time that you spent on the first page. So Google measures time on site based on the second to last page. So if I was spending 5 seconds on the home page and then clicked to a search results page and stayed on that page for 10 seconds and left, Google would say, hey, I was only on the site for 5 seconds. Which again is inaccurate, because the way Google calculated the time on site of 5 seconds, it said, well, they came in at 0 seconds. 5 seconds later, they moved to this other page. So it compares the timestamp when they first loaded the page on the home page, and 5 seconds later, they click to another page. Okay, they've been on the site 5 seconds. Do you understand how this is false, kind of misleading data? And then when somebody goes to the VDP, and let's, imagine any amount of time, again, by the time the person gets to the VDP, they could spend 5 minutes watching a video going through, but Google's going to say 15 seconds because it was 5 seconds to the first page change, another 10 seconds on the SRP. When they get to the VDP, Google only sees 15 seconds. If they spent 25 seconds on the page and left and they were happy, Google would only record 15 seconds as the total time on site and not 40 seconds. So one of the cool things about tracking engagement, every time somebody clicks on something you're tracking, every time somebody plays a video, every time they go through a photo gallery, the time gets updated. So that instead of having misleading data of 15 seconds as the time on site, you can get closer to that 40 seconds, which was the more accurate time. And the reason for that is because every time you track an event and you send that data into Google Analytics, Google refreshes the timestamp and calculates time on site. That's why bounce rate goes down when you track engagement. And I'm not talking about bullshit engagement. I'm talking about engagement on the page that dealers would want to know about. Did they scroll down to read the information? Did they click on a photo? Did they play a video? Did they use the search bar? These are things that dealers should be looking at to inspect the quality of their traffic. Once you understand that you can really see 100% of the traffic's actions, not just know the 3.5% that convert, well, there's two things that, come into mind. Number one, how about retargeting? Most of you know that retargeting is when someone comes to your website and leaves, they visit other popular sites, your banner ad will show, and if a consumer clicks on that banner ad, it takes them back to your website. But have you thought about this question? Should you be retargeting everyone? Think about this. If somebody is directed to this VDP because your ad agency sent them there and they did nothing, they got to that page and 2 seconds later they left, most dealers today are retargeting that consumer. If somebody visits your homepage for 2 or 3 seconds and leaves, what are you supposed to infer from that visit that you could create some meaningful banner? So I have a question. What are the valuable actions on a VDP? Well, it should be pretty obvious. If somebody goes through the photos, that's a pretty engaged shopper. If somebody clicks on the Value My Trade button, that's an engaged shopper. If someone is working with a payment calculator, ladies and gentlemen, they are an engaged shopper. So what about this? Wouldn't it make more sense to create retargeting campaigns, not for everyone, but for people who demonstrate certain behaviors. For example, when you take a list of people who've engaged with photos, engaged with your trade-in tool, engaged with your finance tools, and retarget just those people, wow, the results change dramatically. You can see a 300 to 600% increase in ROI. Instead of having inflated, meaningless numbers, hey, I retargeted everyone. I had 1.5 million impressions. It means nothing. What happened when those people clicked on those ads? And for the most part, those display ads and retargeting ads are filled with low engaged clicks. And that's an opportunity for you to change the ROI of your marketing investments by start to create lists based on engagement data. Then the other thing that happens when you start looking at your campaigns based on engagement, if you see a campaign that has a high ZEP, meaning a high percentage of people who did nothing a shopper would do, they didn't scroll, they didn't look at a photo, they didn't click on any button, well, it then uncovers some really dark secrets that the industry really doesn't want you to know. Here's an example of paid traffic, and the number one choice was to take these 170,000 clicks to an SRP. But look, 78.5% of them went no further. Now, some people might argue, well, Brian, maybe that SRP is all that they needed. And there's some great website platforms like Dealer eProcess where the SRP is really a series of mini VDPs. In this particular case, I have engagement data, and guess what? The ZEP was over 80%. Meaning these 78% of the people who hit that SRP and left didn't even scroll, didn't click on a photo, didn't click on a single button. Ladies and gentlemen, when you start tracking engagement, you could go and see the decisions your ad agency is making. And in this particular case, here's what I'm telling you. Taking these people to the SRP is not optimizing conversion. It's not optimizing leads. It's surely not optimizing showroom traffic because there's so little engagement. What's interesting, when this agency took paid clicks to the homepage, only 33% dropped off. Here's one other lesson. When you look at some of the latest designs from Dealer Inspire, Fusion Zone, Dealer eProcess, Dealer On, these website platforms have very simple home pages, oftentimes a button that says view new inventory, view used inventory. Here's our service specials. Here are our monthly specials. Very, very simple. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been doing some testing based on engagement. And in many cases, when you have poor performance by sending people to an SRP, you get better conversion, better leads, more showroom traffic by taking people to the homepage, which is exactly the opposite of what most agencies have been told by Google. Ladies and gentlemen, when you look at engagement and then research the decisions that your agency is making, well, guess what happens? You have the ability to make smarter marketing decisions. Last thing that I shared at the DMSC conference is the value of UTM tags. I encourage everyone to go to pcgresearch.com and download this free UTM guide. At the end of the day, what I found is once you set up engagement tracking in Google, once you set up Google Analytics with proper goals, once you get your marketing partners to throw engagement events into Google Analytics, the last area to clean up is the tags that people use to identify the traffic that they send to your website. In many cases, dealers have 3 or 4 vendors that are using the wrong tags that are throwing off Google Analytics. They're making up their own tags that Google doesn't recognize. They're using capital and small case letters where Google wants you to use small lowercase letters. It is a huge problem, and I'm so glad that the vendor community is supporting this UTM guide. More and more companies every week are contacting me that they are updating updating their links in email marketing. They're updating their links in Facebook marketing. They're updating their banner and retargeting links to make sure that they're compliant to help dealers make smarter business decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been watching this video, I want to restate what I started at the beginning. That when you start studying engagement data, what consumers are doing on your website, you will quickly challenge many of the things that you were taught about digital marketing. Here's what's going to happen. You are going to call bullshit on traffic that's not engaged. You're going to replace that crappy traffic with campaigns that show high engagement. High engagement leads to more conversions in showroom traffic. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to stop running your business on the 3.5% that convert. You need to be looking at what the 100% of the traffic that's going to your website from your paid advertising or earned advertising campaigns to make smarter marketing decisions. We help dealers clean up their Google Analytics, work to corral their vendors to support engagement metrics, to clean up UTM tags so that all of the engagement data can be easily summarized, viewed in VistaDash. VistaDash is doing what vAuto did to used car marketing. vAuto gave dealers new insights into proper market pricing and demand to make smarter business decisions. VistaDash is taking all of the marketing data and adding a new layer of insights to allow dealers to do more with their marketing dollars to sell more cars in the digital age. If you need more information about VistaDash, you can just go to vistadash.com or surely just reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to show you how tracking engagement and then analyzing that data in VistaDash is a new secret weapon for you to sell more cars in a digital age. So that's the excerpt from the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference in Napa Valley this year. Next year, the DMSC conference is going to be held on the first weekend of June 2018. We look forward to seeing our friends and new friends at the industry's most advanced conference for digital marketing strategy. Thank you for your time.